Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today I want to show you this Mocreo temperature monitoring device. It is not exactly a smart home stuff, it's more like a standalone temperature monitoring, not only temperature, but it has a couple of sensors. So it's like a sensor station which monitors, well, in my case it's mostly temperature and humidity, and it also logs it and graphs it. And it is not so much as well, it can be used also a consumer product, but I think it's more, marketed and designed for commercial products. And there is a very interesting history why I have actually used this, and probably, or why I said that, okay, I want to review it. And I think it's down to one single comment, because I do remember that in one of my Zigbee temperature sensor videos, there was a question in the comments that, can I use this to monitor the freezer? And I said, well, I don't think so, because these Zigbee units, they are usually not designed to be used in in very cold temperatures. The battery probably won't last, and the small radio, I'm not really sure if it's going to penetrate a freezer, the sort of the metal enclosure of the freezer. So I said, oh well, lucky there is a product here which is just designed to do that. Probably this is the review for that one person, and probably some of you else as well who are interested in this, like you have a like whatever, a small shop, an ice cream shop, or whatever, where you have a freezer and you need to monitor temperature. So what I'm going to review here is this Mocreo M1-Lite. So that's the central unit which connects to the internet. So obviously there is a companion app, and you can look at the things, you can check temperatures, you can graph the changes, and also you can look at temperature and humidity as well, and it shows all this information in a graph. You can export the information, and the usual thing. And of course you can set up alerts, so if your temperature goes above or below a certain threshold, it's going to give you an audio alert. And for everything you have, for all of these, you have this central unit which I'm holding in my hand, and that basically acts as a screen, and that also acts as the device which collects the data. And on the left side we have a matrix screen where you can display a temperature from one of the sensors, or you can also use it to temperature the time, to show the time. And on the left side there is a screen which shows you, it can show you a couple of different information. So it shows you a couple of readings. You can configure it to show 1, 2, or 4 readings. You can also like scroll, and then if you click, then it shows you a graph as well. And yeah, and of course you can export the data. So you can export the data into CSV, and then you can do something with it. So that's what I'm going to review in this video. So we are going to look at this unit and the temperature sensors as well, and I'm going to go through some of the things that you can do in the app, and how you can use it as a device, and how you can use it for remote monitoring. As I said, it is not so much as a smart home system, because it's an ecosystem on its own. It doesn't really work with anything else. It's really about remote monitoring temperatures, humidity, and creating alerts if if your freezer is starting to defrost or something like that. So you get a notification and you can do something about that. And before we go any further, let me actually show you the listings and what I have, what I'm going to show you in this video. So let me just resize. So this is the M5-Lite. So that's the central hub, which, already show you what it does, a couple of things. And so it enables the remote monitoring, and it acts as a hub for all your sensors. And that also acts as an alert station. So it has lights and sound, which is going to give you alerts, and not to mention all the things about the screen that you can use it to, to display the information that you need. And the temperature sensors you can get with it are sort of like commercial graded. So you can see that the temperature goes from -400 Fahrenheit to 257 Fahrenheit. And in Celsius, that's minus 40 Celsius to around 125 degrees centigrade. And you can see the accuracy here as well. Okay, I'm clicking on the wrong screen. And all the other things I mentioned already. And by the way, if you're interested in the price, so if we go to the shop, then you can see that, by the way, the company is in Singapore. And you can see that this is the hub that I have, so that's $40, well, excluding tax and probably shipping. And I'm going to show you two sensors. So one is going to be this T5 temperature sensor. So it has a basically a box which houses the battery, and then it has a sensor which is connected to it. So the only reason I'm not showing you this right now because that's in the freezer. So that's the one which is measuring minus 18 degrees. And the second one is this T6 temperature and humidity sensor. So this is just a box which has all the sensor inside, and that measures temperature and humidity. Obviously, this one only measures temperature, but you can see that there are some other sensors available here. So there is like a leak detector. You can get all these with a different hub which doesn't have the display. And there is, again, data loggers, there is a different temperature and humidity sensor, there is an ultra low temperature sensor, which I think can get down to minus some ridiculous temperatures. Yeah, minus 300 Fahrenheit to positive almost 400 Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what you would use that one for, but let me know in the comment section. Well, it says medical and medical labs and industrial use, so maybe like, you know, really, really deep freezers. Good. Okay, so now let's go back to this device and then look at this M5. So as I said, it has two main screens. I'm trying to reduce the glare. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. One can be used to display this left side, can be used to display a temperature or the clock, and the right side is an OLED screen, so it shows you again. Well, it can show you a couple of different things. I quite like this specific screen because it shows obviously the temperature or the temperature and the humidity, and it also has this small text at the bottom which says like what was the last update and how much it has changed since the last update. To be honest, I'm not really sure if the change since the last update is relevant. Maybe it would have been useful to show the delta for, let's say, the last hour. I think it would be more meaningful in order to tell if you have an issue with the freezer, because even if your freezer is losing power, I don't think that the temperature change within a couple of minutes would be that significant. But, you know, I'm not an expert, so what do I know? And on the top of it, there is a RGB light bar, and also there is a speaker inside for all the audio alerts. And if you look at one side, there is nothing. On the bottom, there is nothing. And on the back, we have a couple of connectors. So we have two USB-C connectors, and one of the USB-C connectors, actually this is the left one. So that is just basically power. So you need to just plug it into 5 volts. The cable is provided in the package, which is important because all my other USB cables don't fit because of these fins. So make sure that you keep that USB cable, but the adapter is not provided. And the second one is a local sensor, which is just a simple temperature probe. And this temperature probe have this really flat wire, which means that you should be able to snake it into a freezer through the installation. I just put it next to my vent on my PC. So this is why you can see all these temperatures going up. So that's the sensor which is connected to it. And then if you double click, then you can see the history. And this is just, it's a simple history. You can scroll, you can do anything with it. But that's also a good one. So if you're specifically monitoring like a freezer or something, you can have this display on and it's just going to update live with all the changes. So you can see how the laptop fan is going up and down as it cools down and heats up. And that's the sensor data. And I can do the same with the other sensor as well. So that's the temperature. And if I scroll, I can scroll to the humidity. Oh, I thought I can scroll to the, with a click, I can do the humidity. And then I can do, data on the device as well. So you have a back button here, and you have a scroll, which also acts as a push button. So the control is very easy. I think it's very intuitive. I quite like how this is designed. Okay, so that's one thing. So the other thing I wanted to mention here is you can see that for each of the sensor, there is a battery button and basically a signal strength. And these batteries, which are included in these devices, they have like an operating life of 2 years. And this is the ST6. So that's basically just, yeah, model ST6. So it has the built-in battery, and yeah, so you have a flap here with a USB, micro USB button and the reset hole. So you need to change, you need to just remove it and put it on charge every 2 years. So that's fairly convenient. It also has, you know, a grill, probably for the sensors. Oops, where is my focus? Focus, please, yeah. And that's it. So you just take this and put it somewhere and it's going to measure. And they do communicate via Bluetooth or BLE to be exact. And I was a little bit concerned about that because BLE is not really a big range, especially it doesn't do very good with, you know, walls and that sort of stuff. But having said that, so the freezer is like 2 walls away from me, and I put the device into the freezer and it still works. So I don't know what it's doing with the BLE, but it is definitely impressive. I guess, you know, when you are transferring a small amount of data between in BLE, not like audio, then the range can be a little bit more, or maybe it has a, you know, a stronger BLE radio. But the fact that it works inside the freezer, I think that's pretty good. And if I scroll down, you can see that's the one which is in the fridge or the freezer. So it has 1 bar on the signal, but it works. That's all I care. So definitely it's not going to work, you know, across your house, but if you are in the same room or in the next room, that should be fine, even if it's in the freezer. So I'm guessing with this one, I can walk a couple of rooms away and it will still be able to communicate with the hub. And I just removed the ST5 from the freezer. So you can see it's the same box. It's the same flap with a charging cable, sorry, the charging connection, but it has this plug for this temperature probe. And again, this uses this flat wire, so it should be possible to sneak this into the freezer and have the unit outside, which does the, you know, the data transmission. But to be honest, I chucked the whole thing into the freezer like that, and it's been there for the last 2-3 weeks, you know, and it has no issues. So it is able to communicate with the central unit. Now you can see that the temperature is now going up. And if I heat up this sensor, oh, it's already 0 degrees. 6. So the graph is going to be crazy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. How much is this now? Oh, 21 degrees. Okay, that was quick. So it is really a small probe, so it responds to temperature changes quite quickly. And I guess there is some sort of logic implemented in how frequently these guys send updates based on, you know, how much the temperature changes. Okay. So next up, let me show you what you can do with this central unit, because there is a few different customizing options here. So I think my face is going to be off the screen, but anyway. So here, if I press the back button, I can go to the main screen, and here I can do a couple of things. So I have well, it's basically 4 different things. So you have a calendar, and it just shows you the calendar. It doesn't connect to anything, so it's just a static calendar. Okay, and then you have a weather, and then in the app you can configure your location, and it's just going to show you weather forecast. So yeah, that's it. That's good. And you have the sensor page. That's the one where we were at the beginning, and then the settings. And in the settings, you can also do a couple of different things. So in the network and the internet, you can configure your Wi-Fi, but you do it in the beginning of the setup, so you don't really have to come here. So next one is sensor. You can change whether you want the probe which is connected to this unit to be shown, and you can change the card view to be single, double, or quad. So if I change to quad, so now the sensor view shows 4 sensors, and I'm losing that update information. So I like the dual a little bit more, double. If you have 1 sensor, you can just have single, and you can rename this Wi-Fi hub. So that's the name of the built-in sensor as well. Yeah. And then in the local, you can change 12-hour, you can change your time zone, you can change the temperature unit. So it changes the temperature unit in the app and also here on the screen. On the display, you can set brightness and whether you want sleep mode so that the screen turns off and you enable buzzer. And then devices, that just shows you all the devices that you have. And I guess this storage is probably maybe it's a cloud storage, it's a built-in storage, I'm not really sure. Oops, auto upgrade. Factory reset, reboot, uptime. Yeah. Nothing crazy. What's in the setup? Oh, no. That was the setup mode. Yeah. Okay, so that's the initial setup mode which the device goes into when you first power it up, and then you can pair it with your app. I hope I didn't break it. Yeah, it connects back to my Wi-Fi, so that's good. And finally, tips and support, and that's it. Oh yeah, sorry, I made a mistake here. So back in the sensor or the display screen, I can, whether it said, I have this toggle here, so sensor data on the left panel. So if I turn this off, then this turns to clock. And if I turn it on, it turns to sensor data. I can specify which sensor to be shown on this big screen on the left. Okay, so that's the sensor data on the left panel. And that's it. So this is how you configure the design on this screen, and then basically just decide what to show in this OLED screen. So let me just go back to sensors, and that's it. So that looks good now. Now let me show you how the app works. So you have a separate Mocreo app that you need to download, and that's the main layout. It's quite similar how all the other smart home apps look like. So you have a home, you have messages, which shows you all the different messages, like for example, if the hub is disconnected, and you have a profile which shows your account and stuff like that. So here in the account, you have to create multiple homes. So maybe if you use it in different locations, you can create locations, and then you can configure like, where it is, what is the temperature. So you can configure the temperature unit as well. And the time zone and the region is used for the time and also for the weather information. So as you can see, you can create multiple homes, and when you add a new device, you put it into a separate home. The main thing really happens on this home screen. Here on the upper right, you have the plus button. This is how you pair additional devices. So when you click on, when I connected the hub, it has gone into a setup mode. And by the way, the whole setup process is going to take you through all the different steps, what you need to do. So make sure that your hub is in setup mode, and if you want to add a sensor like a T5, then it's going to show you that you need to use that button. You press it once and then the LED is going to start blinking, showing that it's in pairing mode. So it's very easy to use, and it's very easy to add devices. And once you are in the devices, then you can see that each has a small icon. It has the information, whether it's the battery status and last update and the values. So, and I can come here, and I've already shown you in the beginning. So it shows you graph, and then I can view more, and I could do, I could go back in time, but the problem is that I had to just reinstall this Lite hub, and I had to add a newer version of the application. So I lost most of the information that I had for the last couple of weeks. So unfortunately, when I go to this month view and the year view, you don't see an awful lot of data. But it's nice that in the graph you can see that for every single aggregation period, you get a lowest and a highest reading. So that would be especially useful when you are looking at, freezers. So, okay, well, I just removed this guy. So, but here at least you can see that, in the normal periods when it was in the freezer, the temperature did not really change. So it basically just fluctuated between 1 degree or even less. So it's an easy way to check on your devices, making sure, or your consumers, making sure that they are working correctly. So you get this graph, and then when you go into the ST5, which has 2 sensors, then you get 2 different graphs. But you can do the same for each of these. Yep. And you have some settings as well. and you have the alarm settings, data calibration, and export history. So let me just do an export history for this particular guy. So it already did quite a wide selection, about a month. So I can do an export here, or I can do a timed export. So if I want an automated email to be delivered like weekly or daily or monthly, you can configure it here. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to click on export, and we will see the results in a couple of minutes. Okay, that's successful. So you get an email notification with the thing. And let me show you the email export, and let me show you the notification part. So for example, I have the export, which I just clicked. So I get a link, and when I click on that link, I get an email. And as you can see, I have the serial number of the device, the name of the device, and I have the time and the temperature and the humidity. And as you can see, there is no aggregation here. So you are getting every single temperature and humidity reading that the system sends, because it doesn't seem to have any irregularity. So whenever the sensor was sending an upgrade, it will get stored and you will be able to export that. So that's nice, because you have access to your full data. So you have calibration as well, so you can calibrate the temperature and the humidity readings, and of course that applies to all the devices. And then finally, let me show you the alarm settings. So let's say I want to set an alarm for the temperature, and I quite like the fact that instead of choosing a separate upper or lower threshold, what you configure here is you configure the range where your temperature is expected to be. So let's say that I expect these temperature sensors, this guy, to measure, the normal environment is between 61 and 83 degrees. And that's the minimum, 61. And if I want to delay the alarm time, I can do that. So maybe if it just dips below, then it's going to get delayed. Yeah, you can see the feature here. And I can do a follow-up reminder. So it will keep sending me a reminder every 10 minutes if the sensor is still in the red area or the red condition. And also I want the hub to start beeping as well. And save it. And I guess we should... Yeah. So this bar here flashes red, normally just flashing blue, and you have the sensor data is also showing in red, which is generating the alarm. So this guy, this doesn't have a beeper. The beeper is really just there. Okay, and I've disabled the alarm. So that's how you do the alarm function. And of course, if I go out and I go to the messages, now I can see that I had an alarm. So that's how the alarm looks like. And you can see in the past I have some offline notification as well, as I was plugging these devices on and off. And the other thing I wanted to show you is that we got the notification before, but we also got a notification in an email. So you can see urgent email, and then that's the temperature, and it's outside the range that I specified. And yeah, you can look at the kitchen. Yeah, by the way, I forgot to say that whenever I add a new device, besides specifying the home, I can specify a room as well. And I put everything into the kitchen, so that's why it says kitchen here. And of course, if I go to any of the other devices, you get the same features. So calibration, of course, here it's only temperature. You can do the export as well. And then you can do the alarm settings same as the other one. So it's always the same screen. And as I said, it's very easy to use. And you can do the same for the hub as well. So alarm settings, data calibration, and history export. And you have an automatic upgrade. So whenever it notices there is a new firmware, then it's going to update the firmware automatically. And I think that's pretty much it about these Mocreo temperature sensors and temperature loggers. The only thing I haven't mentioned, and if you go back to the Mocreo's website, so mocreo.com, then on one of the menus you actually can find API documentation, so you can integrate it with whatever system that you have, monitoring system, using simple HTTP APIs. So that's nice. Not something that I've tried, but I'm pretty sure it works just fine. But I think this pretty much concludes my review of this product. If you are interested, I'm going to leave purchasing links in the video description. But I think that should be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.